Before time began its relentless march across the earth, the High Court of Eternity convened not in clouds of gentle white, but in terrifying pillars of thunder and absolute sovereignty. This is the apex of existence, where the breath of the Almighty sustains the cosmos, and his silence shatters galaxies. Today that silence is a blade. The decree of ultimate extinction has been sealed with the wax of divine wrath. Sodom and Gomorrah have not merely sinned, their corruption has mutated the very fabric of creation, ascending as a suffocating stench to the highest throne. Justice demands an immediate purge. There are no harps playing in this dreadful moment. There is only the blinding brilliance of absolute law preparing to execute its ultimate sentence. You are standing in the unseen throne room, witnessing the final moments before history is permanently altered. Watch as the archangels step forward from the blinding light. Michael and Gabriel, the supreme commanders of the heavenly host, draw their swords of cosmic fire. These are not weapons of metal, but blades forged from the primal energy of dying stars, designed to eradicate not just flesh, but to scorch the memory of Sodom from the very map of human DNA. The command is absolute. The eradication must be total. 1 billion celestial entities, creatures of terrifying power and infinite eyes, fall to their knees. The seraphim bow. The cherubim lower their wings in complete submission to the perfect, unyielding justice of the Creator. A cosmic storm of righteous fury gathers, ready to plunge into the mortal realm and turn cities into pillars of salt and oceans of ash. But then the unthinkable occurs, an event that causes the very pillars of eternity to tremble and the storm of divine wrath to violently pause in its tracks. Amidst the endless ocean of bowing billions, one singular entity refuses to kneel. One immortal frame stands completely upright against the crushing gravity of infinite authority. It is Raziel, the keeper of secrets, the angel whose eyes have witnessed the deepest mysteries of the universe. He does not draw a weapon, he does not speak a word of treason, yet his defiance is louder than 1,000 thunderclaps. He stands in the gap between the consuming fire of God and the corrupted souls of the condemned. This is a rebellion unlike any other. When Lucifer rebelled, it was out of blinding pride and an insatiable lust for power. But Raziel stands in direct opposition to the decree of heaven, for an entirely different reason. His rebellion is born from a crushing, overwhelming empathy for the fragile, broken mortals below. He has seen the flicker of light in the darkest alleys of the doomed city, and he refuses to let it be extinguished without a fight. He places his own eternal existence on the line, daring to challenge the scale of absolute judgment. What happens when the perfect, unyielding law of heavenly justice is violently shattered by one of heaven's greatest generals? What transpires when the cosmic scales of judgment are tipped not by demonic interference, but by a holy angel acting purely out of love for the condemned? Are there hidden codes in the ancient scriptures that reveal this cosmic standoff? If you are ready to uncover the truths that history has buried beneath layers of ash and time, you must join us on this journey. Subscribe to Bible Mysteries Africa right now. Open your mind to the ancient revelations, hit that subscribe button and prepare your spirit as we decode the greatest secret ever kept hidden in the vault of eternity. To descend into the abyss of human existence, an immortal must first orchestrate his own agonizing death. Watch as Raziel, the keeper of celestial mysteries, systematically dismantles his own divinity. He strips away his armor of uncreated light, abandoning the eternal frequencies of the heavenly throne room. The magnificent wings that once rode the solar winds of the cosmos are brutally folded, compressed, and violently crushed into the suffocating cage of human ribs. Imagine the sheer absolute agony of trapping the energy of a dying star inside a fragile vessel of wet clay. The eternal vibration of his immortal being grinds down into the sluggish, heavy rhythm of a mortal heartbeat. As his bare feet finally touch the cursed, parched soil of the Jordan plain, the relentless gravity of earth strikes his shoulders like an anvil of solid lead. He is no longer spirit. He is bound by the brutal reality of Basar, the ancient Hebrew word representing frail, decaying flesh. Every inhalation is a labor, every single step a painful negotiation with the dust from which mankind was forged. He walks into the towering obsidian gates of Sodom. Modern historians and archaeologists know this region as the magnificent Tal el-Hammam, but history remembers this place not merely as a den of iniquity. It was the glittering crown jewel of the Canaanite Empire, a wealthy, sprawling trading hub that commanded the entire valley economy. The night air is thick, suffocatingly heavy, with the exotic scent of crushed frankincense and imported myrrh. Yet to the deeply heightened senses of a fallen angel, these extravagantly expensive perfumes are nothing but a desperate, pathetic shroud. Beneath the intoxicating fragrance of immense wealth lies the foul, unmistakable stench of spiritual gangrene. The very foundation stones of the city sweat with an ancient corruption, and creeping silently through the dark cracks of the cobblestones is the faint prophetic odor of raw sulfur. It is the terrifying scent of the Almighty impending judgment, lingering like a ghost in the atmosphere, long before the heavenly fire actually descends. The earth itself is groaning in the darkness, trembling under the heavy weight of cosmic violation, preparing for the apocalyptic heat of an impending atmospheric blast. In this sprawling metropolis of predators, the angel does not wander aimlessly. His dimmed but piercing eyes cut through the shadows, searching for the ultimate paradox. He is desperately looking for righteousness in the absolute epicenter of hell, and he finds it not in grand religious temples adorned with gold, but in the agonizing, bloody trenches of daily survival. Behold Tamar, a young marginalized widow hiding in the forgotten fringes of the wicked city. Raziel watches silently from the dark as she breaks a hardened crust of stale bread for the starving orphans gathered shivering at her feet. To be good in the city of Sodom is not a peaceful spiritual meditation. It is an act of violent daily resistance. Her hands are cracked, calloused, and actively bleeding. The physical, psychological weight of her unyielding compassion is literally tearing her physical body apart. Her virtue is a brutal, agonizing survival against the crushing, unrelenting tide of absolute wickedness. Here the profound Greek concept of agape, the highest form of sacrificial love, is not some lofty philosophical theory discussed by scholars. It is the literal blood-staining Tamar bruised fingers. It is her stubborn, fierce refusal to let innocents starve while the rest of the city gorges itself on endless debauchery. Raziel witnesses this silent, agonizing sacrifice, and his newly forged mortal heart nearly shatters in his chest. He realizes the terrifying, profound truth of his mission. The unyielding cosmic law of divine justice will not distinguish between the corrupted flesh of the wicked and the beautiful bleeding hands of the pure unless he intervenes. The midnight canopy over the Canaanite valley does not merely open, it violently tears apart like a fragile temple veil ripped from top to bottom. The arrival of the archangels Michael and Gabriel is not a peaceful descent accompanied by the gentle fluttering of feathered wings. It is an apocalyptic breach of reality itself. They plummet from the upper cosmos as twin meteorites of pure concentrated wrath, bringing with them the crushing atmospheric pressure of a dying star. Modern science and archaeology would later uncover the terrifying physical evidence of this exact catastrophic moment, finding the vaporized fortress walls and the instantly melted pottery of Tal el Hammam, perfectly crystallized by a devastating 2000 degrees Celsius airburst. But tonight, the oblivious inhabitants of Sodom only feel a sudden suffocating vacuum. The oxygen is violently sucked from their lungs. The ancient cobblestones beneath their feet begin to fracture and split under the sheer gravitational weight of divine judgment making landfall. The air tastes of burning ozone and absolute doom. Before the swirling dust of their impact can even settle, two blazing blades of cosmic fire are already pressed firmly against the fragile, pulsing throat of Raziel. Michael, the great prince of heaven, stands as the terrifying embodiment of absolute law, his ancient eyes burning with the cold, unforgiving geometry of perfect justice. He represents the immovable decree of the Almighty, demanding that every single infected cell of this cancerous city be immediately cauterized. Gabriel stands silently beside him, acting as the ultimate executioner, holding the very wrath of God, waiting only for the final signal to unleash the purifying thermal storm. This is the supreme clash of heavenly ideologies violently colliding on the filthy, darkened streets of earth. Against the blinding, terrifying majesty of these supreme warriors, Raziel looks desperately small and impossibly weak. He has frantically gathered the 10 righteous souls, placing his frail, newly mortal back directly between them and the devastating fire of the archangels. His human flesh is already blistering and peeling from the intense, radiant heat of their holy swords, but he refuses to yield a single inch. He stretches his bleeding arms wide, transforming his own broken, agonizing body into a pathetic yet breathtakingly magnificent shield for Tamar, the orphans and the righteous few who tremble in the shadows. Yet the most terrifying battle unfolding in this moment is not the physical threat of the blazing swords at his neck, but the profound abyss of darkness violently opening within his own mind. For the very first time in his eternal infinite existence, Raziel actually experiences the crushing, suffocating terror of mortal doubt. To actively defy the highest command of heaven is not merely a temporary demotion or a celestial reprimand, it risks the absolute obliteration of his entire soul. He faces the unbearable, paralyzing dread of having his name permanently expunged from the ancient scrolls of the Sefer HaHaim, the holy book of life, forever scattered into the cold cosmic winds of nothingness. The chilling abyss of eternal separation from the Creator threatens to swallow him entirely. His mortal heart hammers violently against his fragile ribs like a trapped bird, paralyzed by the overwhelming fear of infinite darkness and total erasure. But just as the shadows threaten to conquer his resolve, he hears the quiet, terrified whimpers of the orphan children cowering desperately behind him. At that exact moment, a completely different force rises up to violently meet the darkness. It is an overwhelming, unstoppable tidal wave of pure empathy. He looks deeply into the terrified faces of these condemned mortals and sees the fragile, breathtaking beauty of flawed humanity clinging to the promise of grace. The terrifying storm of divine retribution roars furiously from the heavens above, while the agonizing heavy weight of human compassion anchors his bleeding feet to the earth below. In this agonizing suspended fraction of a second, Raziel must consciously choose between the glorious eternal safety of absolute obedience and the suicidal, beautifully tragic madness of sacrificial love. Then the unimaginable happens. The agonizing friction of the mortal realm simply stops. Time, the relentless predator of mankind, freezes completely. The blazing swords of the archangels hanging mere inches from the throat of Raziel lose their terrible heat. The swirling ash in the polluted air suspends like dead dust trapped forever in eternal amber. Then comes the presence. It does not arrive as an earth-shattering earthquake or a blinding flash of celestial lightning. It manifests as a profound absolute silence that violently swallows all other sounds. This is the uncreated frequency of the Almighty. The omniscient voice speaks, but it does not vibrate through the toxic air or enter through the ears. It bypasses the auditory senses entirely, resonating directly into the marrow of the bone and shaking the very strands of human and angelic DNA. The voice is an ocean of infinite weight, yet it carries the terrifying gentleness of a sovereign creator. The entire universe holds its breath. The mighty archangels Michael and Gabriel instantly fall flat on their faces, their cosmic fire entirely extinguished by the sheer crushing magnitude of the Creator. Raziel alone remains kneeling, his blistered mortal back bowed, his blood-stained hands trembling violently under the overwhelming weight of divine glory. The eternal voice permeates his fragile consciousness, peeling back the layers of eternity to reveal a theological truth that has been locked away since the very foundation of the world. The Almighty speaks, revealing the hidden architecture of the spiritual realm. The angelic host, including the supreme commanders of the heavenly army, were forged in the absolute uncompromising fires of Din. In the ancient mystical Hebrew tongue, Din represents strict, unyielding cosmic justice. It is the perfect geometry of the divine law, demanding absolute, immediate retribution for every single infraction. Din is a consuming fire that requires the cancerous corruption of Sodom to be burned away without a second of hesitation. But the Almighty reveals the profound tragedy of applying raw divine law to fragile vessels of clay. Humanity simply cannot survive the pure, unfiltered radiation of Din. If only strict justice ruled the cosmos, no mortal flesh would ever remain standing. To survive the brutal, crushing weight of their own flawed nature, mankind desperately requires chesed. This sacred Hebrew concept transcends simple human forgiveness. It is a fierce, covenantal loving-kindness. It is a radical mercy that violently interrupts the natural, catastrophic consequences of human sin. The profound silence deepens, wrapping around Raziel like a warm, heavy cloak of pure light. The eternal voice whispers directly into the battered, exhausted soul of the fallen angel, echoing with infinite paternal pride. Do you know why I named you Raziel before the stars were ever spoken into existence? The bowing archangels tremble in awe as the eternal code is finally unlocked before their unseen eyes. In the sacred ancient language of Hebrew, the name Raziel translates perfectly to the secret of God. The voice shakes the foundations of the earth with its tender, unfathomable authority. Your defiance tonight was never a rebellion. Your crushing empathy for these broken humans was not a malfunction of your angelic nature. It was my secret carefully planted inside your spirit from the very beginning of creation. I knew the devastating atmospheric fire of Din would be required to cleanse the Canaanite valley, but I also knew that 50 righteous souls desperately needed a shield of flesh and blood. You did not break my law, Raziel. You fulfilled its deepest, most hidden purpose. You willingly compressed your immortal glory into agonizing mortal flesh to become the physical living vessel for my Chesed. Through your painful descent into human fragility, my supreme mercy has gloriously triumphed over my absolute judgment. The divine judgment finally descends not as a poetic myth, but as a terrifying, undeniable historical reality. As the archangels withdraw their protective presence, the heavens literally tear open, and the unyielding cosmic fire of strict justice rains down violently upon the Canaanite valley. The immense wealth, the towering arrogance, the deep spiritual rot of Sodom is completely incinerated in a blinding apocalyptic atmospheric flash. Even today, thousands of years later, modern archaeologists digging through the desolate plains near the Dead Sea uncover the brutal physical aftermath of this divine purge. They unearth massive ancient fortress walls instantly melted into glass, discovering layers of green trinitite glaze forged by sudden temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun, alongside raw unearthly sulfur pellets embedded permanently into the scorched silent earth. The wrath of the Almighty was absolute, leaving a geographic scar that still whispers of his terrifying sovereignty. Yet against this blazing, terrifying backdrop of total annihilation, look closely at the distant horizon. 50 fragile human shadows walk away from the suffocating ashes, stepping into the golden dawn of a completely new era. 50 beating mortal hearts are carried safely out of the cosmic inferno, not by their own flawless perfection, but purely because an immortal entity chose to bleed and stand in the gap for them. They carry the heavy, exhausted breathing of miraculous survival, the acrid scent of sulfur in their hair, and the eternal, incomprehensible weight of a divine mercy they could never possibly earn. Now look away from the smoldering ancient ruins of the Jordan Plain and stare deeply into the unforgiving mirror of our modern age. The turning of the calendar has changed our technology, but the underlying spiritual condition of humanity remains desperately trapped in the exact same ancient cycle. Our world today is secretly burning with the exact same intoxicating corruption that once flowed freely through the obsidian gates of Sodom. The glowing digital squares and towering glass cities of our present time reek of the identical spiritual decay, masking their quiet moral collapse under the expensive perfumes of endless progress and human pride. The heavy, silent storm clouds of ultimate cosmic justice are gathering once again over our current generation. But in this escalating, terrifying darkness, you must ask your own soul a defining question. Who are you in this epic narrative? When you look at the deep brokenness of your own family, the quiet desperation of your community, and the spiritual famine of your nation, are you merely standing on the safe sidelines, hurling heavy stones of bitter judgment like a self-righteous executioner? Or are you willing to become the Raziel of your own bloodline? Are you willing to step into the dangerous, terrifying gap to bear the agonizing weight of spiritual intercession and to become a living, breathing shield of grace for those who are spiritually starving? Will you choose the brutal, exhausting, agonizing work of unconditional love in a modern culture that only knows how to cancel, destroy, and condemn? The purifying fire of heaven is a cosmic inevitability, but the radical mercy of the Almighty is always actively searching for a willing human vessel. If you feel the ancient prophetic stirring, awakening within your soul today, if you recognize that you carry the resilient, unbroken DNA of the righteous remnant who walked away from the Canaanite flames, then it is time to stamp your permanent seal on the timeline of human history. Do not let the creeping abyss swallow your family or your generation. Join the growing remnant of fearless truth-seekers who absolutely refuse to bow to the overwhelming corruption of this present age. Subscribe to Bible Mysteries Africa right now and intentionally align your spirit with the eternal, unbreakable frequencies of divine grace. Step out of the comfortable shadows, leave your permanent mark on eternity, and declare boldly in the comments below, "I stand in the light." Let your voice echo powerfully through the digital wilderness, was a living testament that even in the darkest, most corrupted valleys of human history, the devastating, unstoppable power of mercy will always triumph over the strict demands of judgment.